All right, let's talk about the next big leap for AI. We're all getting used to chatbots that can talk, right? But what's coming next is way more powerful. We're talking about AI that can actually do things. Let's get into it.
So think about the AI you use day to day. Does it ever feel like you're just talking to an incredibly clever parrot? Something that can repeat back information perfectly, maybe even rearrange it in a cool way, but it doesn't really get it? It can't actually do anything new for you? That's the question we're digging into.
And you know what? That feeling is spot on. The large language models, or LLMs, that we use today have some pretty serious limitations. We've all been there, right? Fiddling with prompts over and over to get what you want, dealing with those weird hallucinations where the AI just makes stuff up, or getting information that's totally out of date. And worst of all, they can really struggle with problems that require more than one step to solve.
This leads us to a really important shift in how we think about this technology. A standard AI is kind of like a brilliant librarian. It's memorized every book in the library and can recite any passage for you on command. Super impressive, but limited. An agentic AI, though, that's like having a dedicated research assistant. It doesn't just recite books. It can go out, run new experiments, and help you discover things that weren't in the library to begin with. It's a jump from passive knowledge to active capability.
So, how do we make that jump? How do we go from a clever parrot to a true partner? Well, the key concept here is what researchers call agency, and it's built on three really important pillars. So, here are the three pillars: reasoning, acting, and interacting. And what's really cool is that they're not separate skills. They all feed into each other, creating what's called a virtuous cycle. When the AI acts and interacts with the world, it creates new information, new data. And that new data feeds its ability to reason, which makes it better at acting and interacting in the future. It's this amazing upward spiral of learning and getting more capable. Let's break down that first pillar, reasoning. Now, this is a huge deal. This isn't just about the AI predicting the next word in a sentence. This is about the ability to actually think through a problem, in multiple steps. It's about being able to reflect on its own answers and break down a really big goal into smaller, more manageable tasks. And this slide is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. On the left, a standard AI tries to solve a math problem in one shot, and it fails, it gets it wrong. But on the right, using a technique called chain of thought, the AI is prompted to literally show its work, step by step. And just by forcing it to lay out its logic, boom, it gets the correct answer. That's a massive improvement in accuracy, all thanks to better reasoning. The second pillar, acting, is where things get really wild. This is how the AI breaks out of the chop box. Acting is the ability to use tools, think a calculator, a search engine, an API, whatever, to get new information and take actual actions in the world. This simple diagram here shows you how it works. When you give it a command, it doesn't just go to the language model. The agent can now access tools, use its own memory of what it's done before, and create a whole plan to get something done. We're talking booking a flight, running some code, you name it. And check this out. This is a fantastic real-world example of acting. This robot uses what's called an inner monologue. After it gets a command, it actually looks at its environment and talks to itself about it. I see a Coke, water, and a chocolate bar. It uses that live feedback from the real world to plan its next physical action. It's grounding its digital thoughts in physical reality. So cool. And that brings us to the final pillar, interacting. This is where the power just scales up like crazy. It's the ability for multiple AI agents to work together, to collaborate, to form teams, even to simulate entire societies to see what happens. Together, they can start to solve problems that are way too complex for any single agent or even a single person to figure out on their own. Okay, so this might all sound like science fiction, but it's not. These agentic AIs are already here and being put to work. So let's take a quick look at how these new research assistants are starting to shake up some really important industries. In medicine, for example, agents are acting as diagnostic assistants for doctors. They can scan medical images and patient data to find patterns that a human eye might miss. They can also take super complex medical jargon and turn it into a report that you or I can actually understand. Plus, they can automate all the boring paperwork, freeing up doctors and nurses to focus on patients. Over in finance, they're analyzing just about everything, from stock charts and financial reports to breaking news to give traders an edge. Some systems are even simulating entire trading firms, with different AI agents playing roles like analyst or risk manager to test out strategies before any real money is on the line.
And this is probably the most exciting one, for me at least. This tech is changing science itself. We're seeing agents that can help automate the whole scientific method, from coming up with a new hypothesis to writing the code to run the experiment and then analyzing the results. It's like a massive force multiplier for human scientists.
Take this SW agent, for example. It doesn't just write code in a vacuum. It operates a computer just like a human software engineer would. It can look through files, use a code editor, search online for answers when it gets stuck, and it can solve really complex programming challenges all by itself. But of course, with all of this incredible new power comes a whole new set of very serious problems that we have to figure out. This isn't just a simple upgrade, it's a fundamental shift that opens the door to brand new risks. Researchers right now are wrestling with some huge questions. How do we stop these agents from being used for malicious tasks? How do we secure them from totally new kinds of cyber attacks? And then there's the giant legal and ethical question. When one of these autonomous agents makes a big mistake, who's liable? Who's responsible? Ultimately, I think it all comes back to this really powerful quote from the research. The AI models we're used to, they just predict. But the AI agents of the future, they reason, they act, and they interact. That's the whole ballgame. That's the fundamental difference. Which leaves us with one final massive question to think about. We're moving from using AI as a tool to collaborating with it as a genuine partner. So if these agents are about to become our new coworkers, our new lab assistants, our new creative partners, what are we going to build together?